Well, good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Tom Schlueter with today's Tom's Take. Now, as I've mentioned over the last couple of days, I'm in a traveling mode right now, and so I pre recorded this on Tuesday, but I want you to pray with me on our assignment that is beginning today. Let me share first off, if I can, a word that was given to TXAPN, our Texas Apostolic Prayer Network, at our Leadership Advance back on August 2nd of this year. This is from Dutch Sheets. Texas is being remantled today. We are coming into our Esther moment or season for America. This is the season that we will save a nation. The things that we have declared and decreed are right. God is going to need you at some point over the next month or 2 or 3 before the election. God is going to need this state to do something that will turn and save this nation. When I speak over someone and announce their calling, then there is a season of preparation for the calling. Typically, God doesn't speak a calling over someone and then they are moving in it immediately. God announces the calling and then requires a season or a time of preparation for that calling. When God announced the destiny of this state, and that was in 2003, you have been faithful to go through the process of preparation. The prayers, humbling ourselves, dealing with the strongholds, branding, etc., were part of the preparation for now. We are about to step into a completely new level of authority to do what we have already been doing, but nowhere near the level of authority that we are moving into now for this nation. Your first responsibility is not the state any longer. Our first run, and he's speaking there of Texas, our first responsibility calling is the nation. And as we do what we need to do in America, we will find it very easy to do what we need to do in Texas. At that very moment, Apostle Greg Hood, good friend, stood up and interrupted Dutch with this word. As you begin to disassemble through this network the ancient roots of evil that have been in this nation, you are going to begin to see life spring up in places that have been dead. Let me say that again. You will begin to disassemble through this network the ancient roots of evil that have been in this nation. You are going to begin to see life spring up in places that have been dead. He then spoke briefly of a word of us dealing with Utah, but then went on to say, the Lord said that there is a giant that has gone to sleep in Minnesota, that you will go to Minnesota with a prayer assignment that has become complacent and satisfied in its victory, that thinks it cannot be moved and cannot be killed. When you come into the state, you will slip up on it and decapitate it, and Minnesota will begin to spring forward with life. It's amazing. A fighter jet just flew over. Like the state will shake itself. It will be like the state is shaking itself, and it will begin voting, living, and expressing righteousness. A giant in Minnesota that needs to be decapitated. Wow. You know, several weeks ago when the Lord informed me that I needed to start doing daily Tom's Takes, you'll acknowledge that next Monday after this advance, I spoke, and you can go back to that Tom's Take and read it. I spoke about Minnesota and realized that on the very day that I was speaking about Minnesota, back on August 4th or 5th, that it was the 21st anniversary of the words that were spoken over Minnesota by Chuck Sheets and Chuck Pierce on their 50-state tour. And you'll remember that the Lord showed us that Texas had received their words that same year, and that we were now coming into completeness in fullness of that word 21 years later. And he revealed to us that it was a threefold cord of 7-year periods, 7 being completion or fulfillment, threefold, bound together and inseparable. So we are speaking that out of Texas, to Texas, and also now to Minnesota. As you're listening to this, I'll already be on a plane with my wife, Kay, and we will be heading to Minnesota for that meeting that was prophesied. We will be going into Minneapolis, and we ask that you would agree with us in prayer that as we go there, not to say Texas has got it and you don't, but to represent the kingdom of God, coming in covenant relationship with Minnesota. And we've got dear, dear friends up in Minnesota. I got family members in Minnesota. And we come in covenant relationship with them and say, let's together, with the strength of the Lord, dismantle this giant that has been reigning in that beautiful state and has held it captive for too many years. Those days are done. Let us now come into full reformation, transformation, and awakening in Minnesota. Now, let me make this clear. Karen Kruger is one of those that oversees the network in Minnesota, much like I do in Texas. They have been doing a marvelous job. They have connected intercessors all across the state. But just as happened with us, it will happen with them in other states. We need to come together now and say, let us grab a hold of you in covenant, and let's use the strength of 2 of us to bring this thing down. Oh, wait a minute. It won't be just 2 of us. I found out yesterday that 7, again a complete number, 7 people that we've been ministering to in Indiana for the last 2 years, using the method of tribunals, legislating God's authority, will join us in Minnesota. So Indiana, Texas, Minnesota, let's work together and let's crush this giant. And let's raise the sword up over it and cut off its head. Please keep us in prayer. We'll be in Minnesota Friday night, and then Saturday, and then traveling home Saturday. I ask that we have a safe journey. No delays, no missed appointments, nothing that will keep us from carrying out the task of the kingdom. Blessings to all of you. Have a great day, and I will see you again on Monday morning.